Hey, welcome back. We all kind of take for granted that the medicines in our cabinet are safe, right? But think about it. What happens after they get that initial green light? Well, that approval is really just the beginning of the story. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this incredible ongoing process that keeps millions of us safe every single day. And it all boils down to what is basically a report card for every single drug out there. I mean, this is the big question, right? Think about it. A new medicine gets tested on, what, a few thousand people in these super controlled clinical trials. But then it gets released into the real world. Millions of people start using it. People with all sorts of different health issues, taking it for years and years. So how on earth do we spot those super rare problems, or the ones that only pop up way down the road? So here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll look at why this whole lifelong journey of monitoring is so incredibly important. Then, we'll dive into how this massive global network actually gathers all the evidence. After that, we'll see how the experts played detective, connecting the dots to find those hidden risks. And finally, we get to the big one, the final verdict that decides if a medicine is still safe enough for you and me. All right, let's jump right in with a drug's lifelong journey. It's a super common myth that once a drug gets that stamp of approval, the story's over. But honestly, that's really just chapter one. Okay, so clinical trials are absolutely the foundation of getting a drug approved. No question. They're super strict, very controlled. But they're not perfect. They have their limits. The groups of people in them are often very specific, the numbers aren't huge, and they don't run forever. This creates what you could call a post-approval blind spot, a place where sneaky side effects or long-term problems can hide, only showing up once the drug is out in the wild. So how do we fix this blind spot? Well, the answer comes in the form of a very important, if a bit clunky, acronym, the PBRER. That stands for Periodic Benefit Risk Evaluation Report. And this isn't some optional thing. It's a mandatory, super detailed document that drug companies have to send to regulators all across the globe. So the easiest way to wrap your head around the PBRER is to think of it exactly like a recurring report card for a drug, or maybe like a regular health checkup. The key thing is, it's not a one-and-done deal. It's this systematic process of checking in on a medicine's real-world performance to make absolutely sure it's still doing more good than harm. And this report card isn't random. It has a really strict schedule. When a drug is brand new, a report is due every 6 months for the first 2 years. Then it's once a year for the next 2. After that, once the drug is more established and we know it better, it usually settles into a rhythm of every 3 years. This whole system is designed to keep a constant, watchful eye on things. Okay, so you might be wondering, what actually goes into this report card? I mean, for it to be useful, it can't just be a rehashable data, right? Exactly. It needs this constant fire hose of new global evidence to paint a full, up-to-the-minute picture of what's really happening. And this is where it gets really wild. The sheer amount of different information that feeds into one of these reports is incredible. I mean, they pull from everywhere. We're talking ongoing clinical trials, spontaneous reports from doctors and patients just like you, huge studies on entire populations, the very latest scientific papers. They even look at sales data to figure out how many people are actually using the drug. It's a massive data dragnet. What this all does is create one single cohesive story. Seriously, think of it less like a boring report and more like a global intelligence gathering operation. Every little piece of the puzzle, from a lab result in a petri dish to a patient story from halfway around the world, is meticulously collected and organized. The goal? To make sure absolutely no stone is left unturned. Okay, so now we've got this literal mountain of data coming in from all corners of the globe. But just having a pile of data, that's not enough, right? The really crucial part, the magic, if you will, is connecting all those dots, turning that raw mess of information into something meaningful, into a clear signal. And this whole process has a name. It's called signal detection. A safety signal is basically a clue. It's like a detective finding a single footprint at a crime scene. It's not definitive proof of who did it, but it's a lead, a hypothesis, a potential link between a medicine and a bad reaction that says, hey, we need to look into this more. It's that first whisper that something might be up. This really breaks down the analytical heart of it all. So first, you identify every potential clue, every signal, and you log it. Then, the experts really go to work. They dive deep to figure out if this is a real risk or just noise. They're asking all the tough questions. How serious is this potential side effect? How often is it actually happening? Are some people more likely to get it than others? It's this very careful, systematic journey from a faint little whisper to a clearly understood risk. And all of this work, all this detective work, leads us to the final act. This is the moment of truth, the verdict. After all the data's been gathered, all the signals chased down, and all the risks evaluated, it's time to make the big call. And here we are at the most critical step of all, the integrated analysis. It's basically a weighing of the scales. Picture it. On one side of the scale, you pile on all the good stuff, all the evidence showing how well the drug works in the real world. On the other side, you put all the risks you've uncovered. And then you step back and ask the most important question of all. Does the good still outweigh the bad? Honestly, this balance is the whole reason this process exists. See, a medicine gets approved in the first place because at that specific point in time, its benefits are thought to be greater than its known risks. The PBRER's job is to keep rechecking that assumption over and over again with fresh, real-world data. Because that balance isn't set in stone. It's dynamic, it can change, and it has to be proven again and again throughout the drug's entire life. And let me be clear, this is not just some paperwork exercise. The conclusions from this report lead to real actions that directly protect you and me. We're talking about things like updating a drug's label with a new warning, or maybe restricting its use to only certain groups of patients. It could even mean sending out special communications to doctors. And yeah, in the most serious, the rare cases, it means pulling a drug from the market altogether. When you boil it all down, the entire mission is captured perfectly in the official guidelines. They say the goal is to minimize risks and optimize benefits throughout the life cycle to promote and protect public health. And that's it right there. That's the core principle that makes this whole PBRER process such a vital and powerful tool for keeping us all safe. So that's the PBRER, the system we rely on today. But it does leave you wondering about the future, doesn't it? As we get more and more real-time data streaming in from things like electronic health records and even our smartwatches, you have to ask, how could this already incredibly powerful system evolve? Could it become even faster, even more precise at protecting every single one of us? It's a pretty exciting thought.